Hi, come in, take a seat. So, as you know, since the recent restructuring of the company, I have been hired as your new manager, and it is my role, as well as yours, to encourage a real culture shift at this company. You, as one of the 30% of employees still remaining at this company, are going to have a key role in changing attitudes, changing habits, bringing in best practices. And so I think that it's important for us to really set expectations for where our company is going forward. So, since we are still lacking an HR department, I really feel that it falls upon me to have this conversation about basic office etiquette, expected behaviors for the office, and I think that's a conversation that is better had sooner than later, because something has to be done. So, let's start with an easy one, okay? Stealing office supplies. Now, I am certainly not interested in micromanaging how people choose to use the office supplies. We expect that employees will be using a certain amount of supplies for personal rather than work use, and this is not surprising. We have this accounted for in our overhead. I have no issue with an employee taking home a pen, for example, or even the occasional composition book. But the issue that we're having at this office is that the supplies in our inventory are disappearing at a remarkable rate. I have seen reports. I was not here. I did not see what happened personally. But before I arrived, the office supplies in the copy room were being cleared out about every week. Nobody uses that many thumbtacks, all right? Not unless they're working on some conspiracy theory or some questionable use of maps at home on their own time, in which case, let's save that conversation for another meeting, okay? So we're just going to make sure that we communicate with our employees about the intended use of the office supplies and follow up to make sure that those new guidelines are actually being followed. And this brings me to another point which I found very surprising, which is that employees at this office have a habit of borrowing office equipment. And by borrow, I mean they take it home. And sometimes return it. Sometimes we have to investigate where it went. And, for example, a printer went missing 2 months ago. And this wasn't just a desktop inkjet printer. This was a laserjet printer, a large multi-tray enterprise color laserjet printer. It turned out that one of the employees was using it to print drafts of their novel at home. Needless to say, this is inappropriate and will be forbidden in the future. Other items that have gone missing have included scanners and fax machines. Unacceptable. All right, let's talk about another easy subject, which is eating lunch at your desk. Now, I realize that occasionally employees will be too busy to take their lunch breaks, and I expect us to manage our time in such a way that we do not often need to remain at our desks to eat our lunch and get all of our work done. Sometimes that is necessary. However, given the current work ethic and level of productivity at this office, I sincerely doubt that this is what's going on. Mostly what I've been seeing has been a lot of Facebook, a lot of YouTube, and a lot of Minesweeper. I want to emphasize that unless you do have urgent work, I expect you to eat your lunch in the break room or to take a half-hour to 1-hour lunch break outside the office. No more than an hour. Meetings with customers accepted. Working lunches may run over. Personal lunch breaks, I see no reason why they should take more than an hour. All right. All of that said, if an employee finds it unavoidable to eat lunch at their desk, we expect them to bring in lunches which will not cause an offensive and distracting smell. I'm talking about fish. I am talking about seafood. I'm particularly talking about hot fish and hot seafood. Other examples include curries, which, while not necessarily bad smelling, are very potent and very distracting. Sauerkraut, raw broccoli, raw cauliflower, raw cruciferous vegetables. Now, it is completely up to you whether you want to eat those things. I know that raw cauliflower seems to have a particular following in this office for some reason, but I would just ask, please, to consume this outside the office. Don't even do it in the break room. The smell lingers, okay? While I'm on the subject, if it's in the break room refrigerator, it's not fair game. It just isn't. You may have noticed workmen in the break room this afternoon. They're installing CCTV. Moving right along, football breaks. There's a certain number of employees who, 4 to 5 days out of the 5-day work week, have a habit of going off at about 3 o'clock and playing football for an hour in the parking lot. Now, I'm aware of the importance of team building, but when team building takes approximately 1/8 of your working hours and involves potential damage to other people's property, then that has gone far beyond where I draw the line. Cars are getting dented. No, you can't do it indoors instead. Play football after hours, before hours if you want to. Don't do it on company time. Let's see. Another item. Answering the phone with funny voices. No. Paper airplanes are not an acceptable way to send memos. Go talk to the person or send them an email if necessary. When you do email people, there is no need to carbon copy the entire department, all right? I see a lot of emails going around with 15+ recipients. This is nonsensical. We do not need to know when you have sent a quote to a client. This is standard sales. Nobody else in the department needs that level of information. And please do not play music at your desks on your speakers. Alright? It's distracting when one person does it. It's distracting when 5 people do it. When everybody does it, then you can't hear anything almost, and people have been shouting at each other across their cubicles, across the office. People on the phone are shouting at their customers. It sounds like a school cafeteria in there. Not appropriate, not professional. Pardon me? Jaime? Jaime's been playing mariachi music at his desk. Well, Jaime is not the only one who has been playing music over his speakers, but I have spoken with him, and no, he doesn't even like mariachi music. He's just been doing it to annoy Justin. Yeah. Yes, he is Mexican. Don't make assumptions. I think he's more into indie pop, actually. Alright. Hats. Hats are a no. They are not appropriate wear for the office. Now, I realize that there is a climate control war going on in here. And I've decided that the thermostat will be kept between 72 and 74 degrees Fahrenheit from now on, alright? So I don't want to see people coming in with sunglasses to make a statement. I don't want people coming in with hunter's caps to make a statement about the climate. That stops now. Now, I might consider allowing a pajama day once a year, not every Monday. This office has a surprising number of parties. Alright? From what I can tell, there are 3 to 4 parties every month, and this is taking up too much of our discretionary budget, and we are ordering too much food for our parties. We are ordering too much catering for our meetings. We have often enough leftover food to feed the office once over again, and this is wasteful, it's expensive, it's disappointing. You get the message. The meetings here should not just be an excuse for donuts or sandwiches or entire roast chickens. There are too many meetings. It's not a good use of time unless there is an actual topic that is appropriate for discussion in a group. Otherwise, you can communicate that information in person or over email. You know, we just need to manage our time better in general. During meetings, also, I would like to see no plagiarism. That would be great. I was in the last sales meeting taking notes, and there was a sales chart in there that didn't even belong to this company. You weren't there? Okay, that was an all-hands meeting. You need to be present at those. Well, if you had been there, you would know what the label at the bottom of that chart said. No. wasn't our company's. The chart of sales figures, the bottom of it, it said Walmart. What? Robert keeps bringing in his parakeet. Okay. Thank you. By the way, someone's been ordering model train parts on the company credit card. Is that you? No. All right. Well, silly putty. Why is this office obsessed with silly putty? Everyone seems to have a wad of it on their desk. Well, I'd like to hear your explanation. No? All right. Well then, some have claimed that it started a few months ago when there was an occupational health presentation and there were discussions about carpal tunnel, ways to prevent it, and thus the silly putty at everyone's desk is something to exercise their hands and relieve stress. But someone else claims that you started it just for giggles. I don't know. But at any rate, there are smudges of silly putty all over the office. Okay? It's deeply embedded in the conference room carpet. I have found smudges of it underneath the desks, as well as, well, I don't think you want to know, although I assume you do, actually. Leave the silly putty at home, all right? We don't need to burden maintenance with that. Also, please do not clip your fingernails at the desk. Please do not clip your toenails at the desk. And please do not brush your teeth at your desk with those little disposable toothbrushes. They're about the size of a toothpick, and they have little flexible plastic bristles. No, people find that distracting. Don't do it. Let's talk about something a little bigger. Now, we finally have an IT department, and this means that you're going to have to learn how to use a modern computer. The computers here are nostalgic, shall we say. Everybody is still running Windows 98. All right? That makes you 18 years out of date. If your computers were children, they would be starting college now. It's ridiculous. I suspect part of the reason that we have such a poor rate of returning calls and emails and requests from our clients is that we're simply unable to fulfill those requests on the equipment that we currently have. We can't even open attachments for Microsoft Office. They're too new. They won't open. So we are upgrading you. In the process of doing that currently, everybody will have new machines, new monitors. You will have the latest operating systems. You will have the latest software. All right. So I have high hopes that this is going to improve our productivity, but it'll only do that with the right attitude adjustment as well. And there's going to be a learning curve, and it's going to be tough, but we are going to master the new technology and proceed. No, I would prefer it if you didn't play Minesweeper anymore. Everyone here seems to be an expert at it, so kudos on the critical thinking training, but I assume that you have maxed out the benefits of that game by now. Speaking of critical thinking, I hear that nearly half the office computers were wiped out by a virus last year. Now, of course, part of this is attributable to the sadly outdated state of your PCs, but I don't know why this place hasn't invested in any antivirus software. We will be installing that along with your new operating systems and new software. And we do, however, need a certain level of compliance from our employees with basic security practices. Do not open exe files attached to chain letters, alright? There's no gift certificate to Walmart inside. There's no screensaver with cute puppies. Don't forward chain letters. Don't forward them in the office. Don't forward them to customers. Yes, you may ask a question. You're asking me why you haven't been promoted. Do you think that's an appropriate question to ask your new manager who's only been here 1 week? You brought me a cake on Monday. A cake, a 3-tiered cake. There must have been a gallon of icing on it, and my name was misspelled. It's with 2 L's. No, I'm not saying that you have to be a good speller to be a leader, alright? I realize that's not everybody's strong point, but we find ways of compensating for our weaknesses, or learning even. So you can make the effort to use spell check and learn people's names. So, as to why you haven't been promoted, I can't give an exact answer because I haven't had that much time to observe you, but I can tell you that you're going to have to impress me by your actions as an employee. All right. Now, I do feel that I should mention that I have reviewed some of the files on the employees here, and the more recent performance reviews that have been conducted here, and I do feel that I'm going to have to start from scratch because they are simply not informative. I see a lot of awesomes. I see a lot of top marks on everybody from certain managers. Other managers give everybody scathing reviews. The samples are really not indicative, I believe, of the actual quality of work that goes on here. So, we are going to establish some norms and calibrate the ratings process such that we can actually have a better record of employee performance and a better basis on which to distribute rewards and grant promotions. Okay. Well, we're almost out of time here, but I just want to make a couple more points one of which is holding meetings for personal projects on company time represents a conflict of interest and is forbidden. It's forbidden. I know that there was an hour of time set aside every day under your previous manager to pursue personal interests, and some employees were using this time to develop apps. Some of them were using this time to write novels. Some of them were applying for jobs at Walmart, which I hope to discourage in the future. I hope to offer enough incentives here that people do feel motivated to do their work. So, the hour of free time, of personal time, I would much prefer to see you eating lunch, for example, not at your desk, or taking time to watch some video tutorials, or read an article relevant to the business. Alright, we're going to restructure that. And just lastly, don't give all your work to the poor intern. She works harder than anyone else at this office, and it's because she's terrified. She's terrified because this is her first real job. Yes, she's an unpaid intern, but hers, if I may say, I believe, is currently the only real job other than mine in this office. Because a real job is one where you put in the effort. I think I've said everything that I need to say. So, same time next week, we are going to have another one-on-one, and now that you're aware of some of the issues at the office, I expect you to form a plan for how you will be responsible for changing your behavior and the behavior of your reports. And I want to see that plan next week. All right. Well, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking with you next week and reviewing progress. All right. Back to work.